Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see. Hopefully you can see my screen. It's a pretty good shape. Okay, excellent. Okay, so yeah, so we'll talk today about software citation guidance, geoscience community for the geoscience community, and really a lot of the topic will not be particularly new, I think, to this community, but hopefully there'll be a few nuggets in here that some folks might be able to walk away with and contemplate some different approaches possibly. Okay, so let's see. Let me go to the. Oh, sorry about that. Next slide. So we'll kind of give a quick overview, background, purpose, talk about the the core idea in sort of the software citation space and what we're trying to accomplish with some guidance on that. Talk about GitHub. We know that most of the community, certainly this community, is heavily involved and engaged with GitHub. So there's some specific things that we've, that we're trying to promote, at least in the GitHub space. And then we'll talk a little bit at the very end about, what is this really all about? Why are we really interested in this? And, I think for most people here, you know that you are developing software that in some cases in lieu of writing papers and getting credit for that is ultimately where people really want to be. It's arguable whether the software is more important than the paper, but I won't even get into that discussion because it is a contentious one for sure. All right, so what we're going to try to explore is, we kind of know that there's a space of, citation is important. We want to try to promote some best practices, look at, tips and tricks that, we can share amongst the community, and, kind of get into the practice of citing software like we have gotten in the practice of citing data, right? We know that data citation has come a long way, and some of the work that Matt and I are really doing is saying, hey, this needs to go for even further. Of course, data citation is exactly where we'd all love it to be, but it's getting better, and we want that same thing to happen to software. The original part of this talk was geared at the EarthCube community, but we are kind of thinking this is much broader than that, of course. And so we want to talk about what that taking the applicable relevant EarthCube components of that and talk about it in a much broader framework. And then, of course, like I said, we want to talk about the benefits of citation and what that means to the software creators. For nearly everyone here, we've got some historical context, if you will, for what has been happening in the software citation world. So many of you are already familiar with the Force 11 and the work that they started doing and publishing the principles in 2016. And then ESIP, for those of you who are in the ESIP community, I know some of you are probably pretty heavily involved in ESIP. 2019 released a software citation recommendation. And then AGU and AMS more recently have issued guidance on data and software preservation and reuse. And I think one of the big picture ideas in the citation realm is, yes, we do want to get credit, but we also want to promote traceability, right? This is one of those, where are we in the 21st century in terms of preserving the scientific knowledge in ways that may be durable in 30 or 40 or 50 years, right? And having these linkages between the inputs and outputs of the scientific work that we do is critically important. And it's more than just the paper, Okay, so we're going to split this into sort of two kind of areas. One is guidance you would want to give to your end user. So these are the people who would be using your software, who might be writing papers that are likely to cite your software. And then we'll have the guidance for the creator, which is going to be in the next slide. You, the creator. so one of the main things that Matt and I have sort of realized in crafting this over the last year and some change at NCAR is letting the community know to always cite software in every context possible, right? So, and this is one of those things where the more the community understands the necessity of citing and the practice of doing it nearly everywhere they can, the more it just becomes a regular practice, and you don't have to actually remind people to do it. We want to try to avoid that, as much as possible. The other part of this for end users is to make certain that they are transmitting the DOI along with that citation, and if at all possible, provide a complete citation, right? So for example, the ESIP software guideline suggests that, you minimally include an author, the publication, your title, version, publisher, the DOI, and the access date, right? So that would be sort of the minimal thing that we could do to make sure that the community knows we're serious. Please use the DOI. Of course, the DOI is very important because we can automatically extract DOIs and do interesting things if we need to. A full citation would, of course, be the best because it gives the entire context for the work. So for creators, right, what we want is you, the creator, need to make sure that you are providing the DOI in a way that is obvious, and in a way that an end user cannot miss seeing the DOI, and that the end user can't miss seeing the citation of the work, right? Because if the DOI is 5 scrolls down and the citation example is in some 0.6 font and no one can see it, it's likely to be missed as some, irrelevant footnote that, I'll just kind of scroll through. In terms of getting DOIs, and I think probably this community is pretty familiar with most of these mechanisms. You clearly have the option to go the Zenodo route, right? So for those people who have used Zenodo, they have an excellent exporting feature, and with an extra bonus of being able to mint a new DOI upon new releases, so that you could trace which release of the software is used at what point in time and what was being cited. There is the Figshare option, which some of you may have already used before or have seen used before, and that's a very easy, equally easy to Zenodo to get the DOI from Figshare and have that reference there. For the bio community, we are seeing Software Heritage doing some very interesting things in promoting minting DOIs for software and data. And then if you are in a university community, Matt and I are at the NCAR library, so we are providing these services directly to the NCAR community, for supporting minting DOIs and other things. But you may not know, though it may exist, that your university library has experts on staff who can help with this process. So certainly don't overlook the resources that may exist in your own university community at the library. Okay, so quickly going through sort of the minimal GitHub specific guidance. This is for, I would call this the quick and easy, lazy way of getting something that will, meet some minimal criteria for, showing that you're serious about letting your community know about citing your software. And that would be, having in your README file on your GitHub root, a DOI shield, and this would be very easy to do in the README. It's just basically some markdown with a quick image inclusion with the shield.io and the DOI, and it's done, as well as a brief section that calls out how to cite the software. Okay, and so there's an example on the right hand side here where we've included this DOI shield directly in the markdown, and we have included some language about how we would like the software to be cited. All right. And then, of course, if you wanted to go, a step down, or maybe it's an upgrade in one sense, is that you can mint the DOI directly through Zenodo, and some of these things will sort of fall into place directly for you. And GitHub has actually supported Zenodo integration for some time, and they have a very nice guide on citing code and using Zenodo as the sort of integrator for that citation. Okay, so going one step further, and this is, a very new feature in GitHub, but it is a welcome addition, and I think steps up the game quite a bit in the GitHub realm, at least for demonstrating some kind of support and some kind of real movement towards making software first-class citable digital objects. If you create a .cff file in the root of your repository, and there is a short guide on how to create a CFF file, which stands for citation file format, what will end up happening, some magic will occur, and upon recognizing that CFF file exists at the repo root, GitHub's interface will magically change and allow a dropdown that shows cite this repository. And it has, I don't know if there's, right now, I'm not sure if there's a way to change the citation style, but they support APA off the bat, but also support BibTeX export directly, so that, whatever software you may be using to manage your citations, nearly all of them support BibTeX in some way, shape, or form. And so this makes it super easy, sort of is a big game changer, in my opinion, in terms of allowing the community to really know that citation is an important feature and to take it seriously. Okay, so thinking about this in terms of what's in it for you, for the EarthCube project, one of the things we wanted to point out was that it really allows the program to understand the broader impact. And of course, had this been done when the program started, lots and lots of interesting things would have emerged by now. The linkages between the software, community, publications, data, all of that would be, much more interesting to look at and be extractable, really, in that broader context. The other really interesting thing, if you're looking at this from a program level, is that encouraging these types of behaviors moves the project towards a more consistent structure for all of the software that lives under that project. Right? So that way, when people outside the community come in, they sort of say, "Oh yeah, this is we know what to expect," because the structure of these repos and the way in which they are promoting citation of their software is consistent across all of the funded projects under that particular program. And of course, as we said before, understanding relationships between all the outputs and inputs is really where we want to go. For the projects themselves, as I said at the top, getting credit for the work you do should not be an exception when it comes to software. It should just be the rule, just like with publications and data. We should be thinking about all of these as first-class artifacts in our research. Again, it makes the life of folks who are trying to understand impact, like myself and Matt and others in this community, I'm sure, and those who want to use as many automation techniques as we can to do that. These types of activities, have these residual benefits. And, if we get enough of this going, those benefits will come back to you real soon. And, it's just one of those things where the community just really needs to understand this is important. And of course, everyone, if you're not writing papers and you're spending most of your time writing software, you may end up having to associate yourself with highly cited papers. And it's much easier to do that if we have these identifiers and linkages among all of the inputs to that paper, including data. And of course, there's the metrics aspect of this, right? Which is, we are seeing some uptake in tools out there, Dimensions, Clarivate. They're starting to notice. They're certainly noticing that data and data sets are, an important part of the metrics products that they're delivering to their end users. But this coverage is not complete. And, Matt and I have worked on several in-house projects at NCAR where we've had to do some extraction of software DOIs and data site metadata to do some analyses over what's going on in our community. And so really what we want to happen here is that we can get better metrics when all this metadata is coming together and all these linkages are being made more explicit and more consistent. So we did here's an example of the NCAR command language DOI, which was minted in 2012. And as you can see at the bottom of this list, 2000, there were some mentions of this particular DOI as in the year that it was minted. And then we see some rapid increase and some leveling off in the 2017-18 range. But this is the kind of thing that one could go to funders and other stakeholders in your project and say, look, this is demonstrating some impact of the work that we're doing, so please fund us more. But again, these are preliminary days, and understanding formal citation of these things is going to require some further analysis. But again, the more this gets used, the more we'll be in a position to bring some of those formal techniques to bear. And I think that's it. I'm all good. About 20 minutes. I'm right in there. One of the things that we wanted to just throw out there is, for folks in the community who have already been doing that, I'd love to hear what your experiences have been and what recommendations you've been finding helpful for your own projects. And then, of course, there are other platforms besides GitHub. I know, there are people who use GitLab more than GitHub, even though GitHub is still the dominant platform. There's Bitbucket out there. I don't know too many people that use it, but at least in the academic community. But it is a possibility. And again, I'm not sure what either of these platforms provide in terms of the types of citation tools that GitHub provides. But that's it. Thanks for letting me share, and I will stop sharing my screen so I can bring my video back up.